bienvenidos a nuestro episodio 9 de la segunda temporada de Hilos de Consciencia. En este episodio estoy con Chris y tenemos un invitado. Bueno, yo creo que todos nuestros invitados son especiales porque siempre los introducimos y los presentamos como invitados especiales, pero la verdad es que el hecho de que estén acá sentados con nosotros pues es un ejemplo y una prueba de lo especiales que son para nosotros. Cada uno de nosotros ha ido trayendo algunos invitados que por alguna razón han marcado nuestra vida, que por alguna razón han sido maestros y nos han enseñado o como profesionales o como las personas que somos hoy. Y pues hoy acá nosotros tenemos a David Elron. A David lo conocí el año pasado. David es un chamán moderno. Es coach, es especialista y maestro de wellness, es motivador, es speaker y además es facilitador de procesos corporativos también, pero desde un lugar muy espiritual, desde un lugar muy profundo y muy humano. Lo conocí el año pasado en una experiencia personal. David vive en Antigua, pero es de Israel. Ya nos va a contar su historia de cómo llegó a Guatemala y cómo llegó a convertirse, como yo decía, en el ser humano que es hoy. Así que estoy feliz, estoy emocionada, pero también nerviosa de esta conversación, porque yo sé que con David vamos profundo a las conversaciones y a las reflexiones. Y pues hoy vamos a estar como en un Spanglish o en inglés con subtítulos o de repente, bueno, ahí en una mezcla de idiomas, pero donde estoy segura que a veces las palabras no necesitan ni siquiera traducción, ¿verdad? A veces con la emoción, a veces con la energía que se conecta, pues también es muy fácil comprenderse. Yo trabajé 9 años en Brasil, facilitaba talleres a brasileños con 2 argentinos que no hablaban nada de portugués, yo con mi portugués con acento, y de todas formas siempre nos entendíamos, siempre el mensaje llegaba, siempre lo que se quería transmitir, se lograba transmitir, así que estoy segura que hoy no va a ser la excepción de eso. David, bienvenido.
Muchas gracias, es un gusto estar aquí hoy. Bueno, estoy un poco confundido de elegir de qué idioma voy a hablar aquí. Como Melanie ya mencionó, yo soy originalmente de Israel, mi idioma que hablé primero.
¿Materno?
Porque, no materno,
¿No?
porque de esto, cuando voy a decir un idioma materno, yo pienso que el idioma materno de todos nosotros son los mismos. Porque nadie habla un idioma de palabras antes de la edad de 2, 3. Unos padres piensan que tus hijos son tan inteligentes y hablas antes, pero de verdad, cuando se utiliza de ver las palabras es más o menos 3. Entonces, por los primeros 3 años, el idioma a todo el mundo, que es el idioma natal de todos nosotros, es el cuerpo, el sonido, la energía. Y hasta hoy, todos nosotros enfocamos mucho en las palabras, pero de veras cuando estamos aquí hablando y al momento que conoce algo, está leyendo todos los otros niveles de la idioma, que es el cuerpo, que es la energía. Y estos niveles hablan mucho más profundo que solo los idiomas.
Uh-huh.
Y posible, esta salió ahorita, but like, I'm going to go a bit to English. Like, when you meet someone, when we meet here, when we're sitting, even those who are seeing us on video right now, they're all the time reading our body language, what's being done there, the tonality, the little things. And if there's inaccuracy between what I speak and who I be, it creates confusion within us. Mm-hmm. And in a way, in what I call modern culture that all of us probably live in, it's not that much different whether we live in Guatemala City, Antigua, I lived in New York, I'm originally from Israel. We have learned from very early age to lie. Meaning, we've all been trained, domesticated by culture, that we're supposed to be happy all the time. Mm-hmm. And then we hide all other feelings and emotion. So if I'm right now, because I'm a bit, not accustomed to all this camera, all the light. I'm used to be in the spotlight, but not with cameras. Cameras initially stress me, so there's a little bit fear in my body. And I can try to hide it or just say, that's what it is, listen to it.
Right.
If I try, mostly, I'm a man, I'm a strong man. I would say I'm not afraid, but everybody can see that I am. And the consciousness and even bring it out relaxes you, allows you to be. But most in culture say, oh, I'm okay. And then you will notice the little signs, my awkward smile, the way that I move, and you'll notice that I'm probably a bit afraid, and then there'll be discrepancy between everything else that speaks to you than my words, and then you'll ask you, and in that place, a little bit mistrust begins. Mm. Because we learn so much from our culture to lie about how we're actually feeling. And then because everybody around you is such a nice person, they'll agree with your lie, though they do know that you lie. So I'm like, David, how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm really great. I've had an excellent week. So happy today. Like I'm full of life now. I'm saying those words, right? But everything else says the opposite. And you being nice people, we say, oh yeah, David, for sure. We're so happy to hear that you're so, everything is great for you. I know I'm not that great. You can see it. And we begin our communication with a lie. Mm-hmm. And then later on, we are surprised in our culture why there's so much mistrust. Mm-hmm. Because we can't even speak about the basic. Just being a human, say, hey, I'm tired today. I'm a bit afraid. I'm a bit scared. I'm angry or whatever it is. Or I'm like actually joyful and excited. Just be. So I don't know, we jumped into this.
I told you. yo dije, con David vamos a entrar profundo y vamos a entrar rápido. And you can continue in English if you want. But I'm gonna do my reflections and my questions in Spanish. Tú hablabas del lenguaje universal.
Sí.
No de la lengua materna, sino del lenguaje universal que todos tenemos los primeros años, que es reconocernos en el cuerpo, en la energía, en el corazón, en la emoción. Y ahora hablabas del mundo moderno, ¿no? Y cómo en el mundo moderno le ponemos tanta atención a las palabras que no le prestamos tanta atención a ese lenguaje universal que es el que todos traemos y el que todos sabemos leer. Y que cuando se dan esas incoherencias o esas incongruencias entre la palabra y el resto de los canales del lenguaje, es en donde empieza la falta de confianza.
Sí.
Y nosotros hemos hablado mucho de confianza, pero siempre enfocada hacia otros lugares y no a ese primer lugar de confianza. Pero al mismo tiempo, mientras tú hablabas, yo decía, bueno, pero es que se necesita confianza para poder entrar a ese nivel de conversaciones. O por lo menos es la educación que tenemos, que tú no te sientas con un desconocido que te pregunta cómo está y tú le dices, la verdad, hoy es un mal día. No, lo primero que hacemos es bien, todo bien.
Exacto. Pero eso es parte de la domesticación de nuestra cultura. Y cuando hablo, otra vez voy a repetir, la cultura es la cultura moderna, que es muy similar a toda parte del mundo. Aquí en Guatemala lo comemos con frijol, en Tel Aviv con hummus, en los Estados Unidos con ketchup. Es lo mismo. Hay diferencia pequeña. Y este idioma natal y la idioma que la manera que conectamos es de veras, nos conectamos de emociones, de sentimientos, ¿ok? Podemos sentir el otra persona. Pero desde desde la infancia, nuestra cultura nos enseña que no está correcto de sentirla. El único sentimiento que está permitida, pero también no de un volumen muy alto, es todos nosotros tenemos que estar contentos, feliz. Si no estoy feliz, hay un problema. Something is not okay if I'm not happy. So we sort of learn to shut down all of emotion and to say, yes, I'm happy, I'm great, I'm just great.
And I'm sorry, Chris. No. And I'm going to continue in English because otherwise you answer in Spanish.
No, está bien. We can make, you speak in Spanish, I'll commit to speak fully in English. Easier for me.
¿Ves que haya esta domesticación de la que tú hablabas? También esté relacionada con el género, como a los hombres no se les permite mucho menos la tristeza y mucho menos el miedo, y a las mujeres mucho menos el enojo, ¿o es algo más general?
Your mind, train your mind and all will be good. But more and more as we move into the somatic world, as everything advanced, what the shamanic knew from a long time, science right now, whether it's neuroscience or even somatic science, is now catching up and realizing that eventually the body wins. And there's message in those feelings in our body, in the 5 layers that I see in being a human, that we ignore because we try to think about life instead. Life is not a mental experiment, it's an embodied lived experience. And the more you allow yourself to be in this embodied experience, life become more, relationship become more. And I want to take a step back also about trust. We also learned that, like, you need to show me that I can trust you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in my world, like, trust is something that you bring forward by willing to risk the thing that we call to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And trust comes from having the ability that I say, it's training myself in a way. It's learning that I can trust, because whatever is going to happen here, I'm going to be okay, and I'll know how to navigate it. And experience allows that. So if I bring trust into the conversation, if I bring trust into the space, people can feel it. It's almost infectious. They say, okay, we just spoke before we began that. We spoke about a workshop and experience that you were. 6 strangers coming to one day that focuses about feeling. And at that day, it was feeling anger. And I had fear how to bring them so fast into anger, but they all went. You just said, when just in the opening circle, because people felt like I can trust something here. They felt it. I didn't say, hey, you can do this. No, I did sort of say it, but I also, in a way, embodied it so they can sense, yeah, I can do whatever I need to do, be here, and it's okay. I'm safe. And safety in my world is another false concept, because you're never safe. You're sitting here, everything is okay. There's a construction going the next building, something can fall on this building. I pretend like it's safe, but I don't know. So it's ongoing exploration of this thing, of the magical non-linearity of life, through the realm of feeling and the other of our bodies, and not just an intellectual one.
So I do have like a couple of questions, because you were saying that this was like a volume, so that means that there are stages because sometimes you get mad, you get upset, you get angry, but you go from 0 to 10 in the blink of an eye.
Yes.
Because obviously there's this path or learning path, I'm assuming, where you need to learn how to first identify at what level you are or at what stage. But my question comes into, how do you learn how to detect that emotion and express it? Like, for example, sometimes it was, right now, Melanie was asking me during lunch, like, how are things, etc. And I knew the feeling, but I had to like express or give her this whole story in order for me to narrate what was I feeling. So is this a stage? How does this work? How does this learning to detect your emotions, feelings, etc., how does it work, and how?
So, beautiful question, and thank you for your...
And even before, I'm sorry, how do we learn to recover what we lost during domestication? Because we also learn to avoid feeling the emotions.
So my mission and how the world that I want to see is training people to feel again. Now, feeling is a muscle in a way. And as you say, we came into the world, all of us with the capacity to feel to the extreme way. But domestication said, shh, shouldn't be angry. Why are you crying right now? Don't laugh so loud. So you shut down. And so you stop feeling, you numb yourself down every time. So in the process of beginning to learn how to feel, it's like taking baby steps. It's beginning. It's going to spaces where you're allowed to feel and starting to feel. And going into, we do some games in a way, or invitation to people to begin to express the feeling. Now the gateway, take a step back, in this game world that comes from a school thought that's called possibility management, we talk about 4 basic feelings, and I had the 5th one. So the 4 basic feelings are anger, sadness, joy, fear, and then we have love that stands a little bit in the side. All other feelings or emotions that we talk about are not really core basic emotions. They are learned, or they are mixed emotions. So we can say, I feel alone. But alone is not a feeling. I have a story that I'm alone right now, and therefore, what do I feel right now? I feel sad. In the alone, I feel sad, or I feel scared. Or I might feel angry. I'm angry that like everybody, because I tell myself everybody left me and I'm alone. So it's beginning to use the language even differently and going really to the feelings. Okay. We have a lovely feeling that most of us like to say, frustrated. Because nobody's angry. I'm just frustrated. It's a much, soy frustrado. It's nicer. I'm not afraid. I feel a little bit anxious.
Anxious.
Yeah.
We're afraid to say even the words, but when we begin to say them, when we change the word anxious all of a sudden to, oh, I'm feeling a bit afraid, then I can say, oh, I'm afraid that, and it might lead me. I'm angry that. And it's an expression that's mental, but in the spaces that I work at, it's not just mental. We begin to feel that. So you're angry. Start raising the volume. Because you want to learn how to use this muscle that's called anger, let's say. Because anger, contrary to the common belief in our world, it's destructive. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is like, it explodes as you go. You go from 0 to 100. Because all day long, you think you're at 0. But you're not at 0, actually, my friend. Mm-hmm. During the day, this happened. And okay, a little bit angry, a little bit. So you go 5, 15, 20. And most of us get to a point, like some of us get to, we don't know how to use the muscle. So we have a muscle, right? I need to know how to flex it, how to stretch it, everything, how to use it. If I don't know how to use it, all of a sudden, when I get, just throw a number, don't get attached to anything, the numbers, or anything that I say it, because I don't speak the gospel. Those are just ideas and concepts that I believe and live, but like there's always the possibility that I'm completely full off. And it's all BS. But so you angry, and you are there. And as long as it's below a line that we call numbness line, you don't really feel it, but you are. And then I come and I poke, and you go, once you go to 40, you don't know how to go to 50, 60. You go from 40 straight to 80 or 90. Right. There's no stop in between. And what we, in the work that I do, what we train people is like, okay, go to 5, go to 10, go to 20, go to 30, go to 50. Now let's go to 60, so you know how to navigate. And in that, when you go, you're going to start feeling other things. An emotion is going to come, and you're going to learn how to feel again. And then you will learn also how to use the feeling instead of it using you, which mostly happens. Right. Because anger usually, when you go from 20 straight to 100, it's anger expressed to you, and I can show it here right now, and like, then it just bulges out. And I can act better. I won't do it here. It might be too volumetric, but in the spaces that I facilitate, it's a lot. Because you can't learn how to feel just in theory, right? Right. I'll compare it to sport that I love. You can't just learn how to throw the ball to the basket. You have to, there's the theory, but then you have to take the ball and hold it and throw it. And sometimes you might be super lucky, and the first time you're going to score, but don't get attached. That was luck. But you keep on and keep on and keep on until you realize at every point, what is the amount of force that I need to know to make a score? What is the amount of anger or sadness or fear that I need to use right now in order to communicate correctly? What is the volume of emotion? Now, initially, we do bring the mind a bit and use it, but it's a felt experience. Eventually, you realize when something that I transfer to language or experience, if I'm using the right mix of emotion, that we are connected, that it lands within the person that I communicate, that we are in a space of feeling.
Right.
Instead of just ideas, concept, numbers. It's great, but like we don't connect to ideas, we connect to our feelings about the ideas.
And you know, while you were talking, I was just thinking, because I had this conversation with my 6-year-old. So
yes.
and you go through all these like thoughts on, I don't want her to go through the same things, and those like, you can't cry, you can't do this, you can't do that. So it's like, how would you recommend a father? It's like my daughter cries for everything, and she's like frustrated. I'm going to use the word frustrated, even though you just said that we shouldn't, but it's like, so she starts like, it's like I don't want to say
you can. You can use frustrated and then break it down.
Okay. So
I'm not the police here to tell you can't do this or that.
I'm not going to say you're the emotional police. So it's that, but it's like she and that's what I sense. Like she gets frustrated because she starts crying.
Yeah.
But it's like her universal way of telling me or her mom that something's happening.
Yeah.
What's happening? That's like the missing link that we have. So
yes.
How do you help people, or how do you help kids to navigate through that uncertainty and obviously allow them to detect?
So first you learn by going and working on you. Because definitely kids at 6 years old, in our formative years, between 0 to 7 and a bit more, the mind is in theta waves, okay? So more is caught than taught. It's not just the words. So you can tell her, you know, I'm okay with you crying, but all your body is tense, and she sees it.
Right.
So she doesn't believe you. So when you go and be with yourself and realize, okay, she's crying, I learn how to be, and it's through experiences. I can be with her crying and be okay with it. And she can really feel that I'm okay with it and crying as much as you want. And so you almost cannot teach her what you don't know by yourself, because she and other people, as we speak before, your body speak louder than you. Mm-hmm. So if I'm saying, I'm totally cool here, I'm really cool with all the situation, my body said the opposite, it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, in the program that I write, in the Heartfulness Leadership, the first module is like, it begins and ends with you. Leaders, corporate leaders, like parents, think, I can fix my kid, I don't need to work on me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. You begin in working with you, and then the kid is being with that. So you talk about your 6 years old. I don't have my own kids, but I'm very involved in some life of some other kids. And this weekend there's a family that a friend of mine is helping, and I'm helping as well. They come, and the mother disappeared a bit this weekend, and our 2 men in their 50s were left with a 5 years old. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. But at the same time, it was really seeing how to navigate. We were in the car, and I didn't have a car seat, and we had to take it from somewhere to other. And she's sitting in the back with my dog. She's all happy, but then she starts moving. And my friend who doesn't know how to use anger, is trying to tell her to sit down. She doesn't listen because he's afraid to use his anger. Now I stopped the car and I said, sit down. Because he asked her. I didn't ask her. It was non-negotiable. I was using anger consciously in a way that lands with her, that I'm not playing her. You sit down, and that's it. And she sat down, and she stayed for the next 5 minutes, sat down, we put the belt back on, and there wasn't movement. I was using the right volume of anger, not to bring fear to her, but to tell her, oh, sit down. Anger is a way to put boundaries. I'm serious about it. And if I put boundaries with fear, like, can you please sit down? She's like, I don't care what you're saying. You're not talking about, your boundaries are completely unset there. So all of us need to learn how to feel and to deal with our feeling and emotion, to begin to develop those muscles. So my friends or parent can put a boundary and the kid knows that it's true. Now, when anger becomes too loud, then you just shout at your kids, and then they go into fear and they shut down. And then you put boundary that it's like the kid did 5, you are punishing him with 100. And then the kid is like, because they're intelligent enough to realize, I came 5 minutes late, and my father is telling me now you are grounded for like 3 months. They know you don't mean it, So when we begin to work on ourselves, we by that, want to change the world, change yourself.
That's really nice.
David, ¿cómo lo llevamos al mundo de las organizaciones? ¿Sí? Porque esto que acabas de contar es, ok, ¿cómo podemos hacer la diferencia con los niños?
Sí.
Pero muchas veces yo tengo esta idea de que estos cuerpos de 1,70, de 1,80, de 40 o 50 años están sentados en las oficinas corporativas, en las oficinas de empresas, pero también están sentados los niñitos allí.
Exacto.
Porque la madurez emocional que tenemos como adultos no creció y no se desarrolló a la misma velocidad ni a la misma altura que se desarrolló el cuerpo físicamente. Entonces estamos en una reunión con 12 personas sentados en la sala, pero en realidad hay 12 madureces emocionales de 5 y 6 años.
Uh-huh.
¿Cómo entramos a hacer un trabajo de conciencia emocional? ¿Cómo hacemos para hacer un trabajo de este desarrollo personal en las organizaciones en donde no se sabe hablar de emociones? No es un idioma que se habla, tal vez un poco en los últimos años,
sí,
pero muy poco. Hay mucho, voy a usar esta palabra, analfabetismo emocional. No sabemos hablar de las emociones en las empresas.
O es un tabú.
O es un tabú que no queremos hablar, un poco no se habla de Bruno, ¿no?
Se habla de Bruno.
Sí, entonces, it is in a way, it was definitely a taboo. I think it's becoming less and less in a taboo in the world right now, and also in corporate world. Thank God for this reason. I have opportunities, but it's time because, when I was very young, began to work, and definitely generation before me, you don't bring your personal life into the office. Mm-hmm. You don't you don't feel in the office. You're just here to be productive and work. But we know that it doesn't work, actually. And as you so adequately said and beautifully, yes, the concept of the inner child. There's a 50 years old or 40 years old or 30 years old executive, but right now she's stuck at 13 or at 12. And in my experience working with leaders organization is initially showing that to them, the potential because of bringing feeling back into the office and teaching emotional intelligence in a way, or teaching and bringing it back because there's no more separation of life, work, it's integration of everything. And when you begin to do that, and leaders in my world, and what I call heartfulness leader, her role is to care and take care of the people in her care. Now, I don't mean take care of them like babies, mm-hmm. but to really care. Care is an emotion that's unpopular, but care is like, I care, and it's about, it has kindness in it, kindness of heart. I care enough. And creating spaces, beginning the conversation, poco a poco, step by step, where we begin to facilitate it, when we begin introducing it. And it can begin with the, junta directiva, with the management suite, but the idea is for it to trickle down, that everybody can be in a space where leaders and managers know how to help navigate. Because if I'm sitting with an executive, and he's right now, if I'm trained a little bit, and because being a leader is being like a practical psychologist in a way.
Yeah.
And if I can see that she's not there and I can sense it and I learn, whoa, and I can come and say, hey, what's going on really? Because I'm all stressed right now about we need to achieve this. But you're stuck, you're not here. There's a vacancy in there. And I'm talking to this vacancy and you did things like that. And we actually sense it and we know. And I know, and I'm becoming angry because I know you're not listening. But if I can, as an executive, take a breath and drop in for a second and say, she's not there. You can say, hey, Melanie, what's going on? And I can help her by extending a hand to move for a moment and say, then she say, hey, I'm having a really bad day today, my child like that. You know what? Take the minute, take an hour, go take care of that, and then come and we'll take care of it. Because otherwise I'm going to lose the whole day pretending like she got what I tried to talk with her. But if I listen to her, and she felt listened, and I'm helping her retrieve herself from being stuck in an emotional pattern of a 5 or 15, she can move faster back to 40 and move through the day or the week or whatever. And those spaces are so important because at the end of the day, most of the people who work must spend most of the time in the office, numbing down, productivity. And everybody wants the magic pill. How do we do it in 5 minutes? But there's no magic pill. We spend, generation upon generation learning how not to feel, how not to be in our body. It's going to take time to return. I've been doing this work consciously for 20-something years, and I keep learning every day. Every day. I'm right now in the middle of a 7-week course where it's called Fear Club, where I'm with 9 other men sitting there once a week, and then in between the week, going connecting with our fear. And like even as I say it now, I can feel it. Fear is a challenging emotion. I'm afraid mostly of my fear. Fear really lives in our nervous system, and when you really go to fear, it's like, oof. So life for me, it's an ongoing evolutionary journey, and it never ends. Now, I don't need to be, I'm not all the time in courses and learning that, but it's a commitment to evolve, to become better. And even in the workplace, giving those tools, because when you give those tools to your executive, to your employees, it changes the workspace. People care, this energy of care and kindness. And kindness doesn't mean being nice. I say it sometimes and I'll use, I'm sometimes say because being a leader or being kind is not a popularity context. It's not about being nice. Sometimes being kind is saying the things very honestly and clearly and hey, being honest. Being kind is being honest. Being kind is not, hey, I'm angry right now, hiding and no, I'm talking. Then you become sarcastic and passive aggressive, saying, hey, I'm angry about that. Now, my anger is mine. I'm responsible to it. You did whatever you did and I'm angry. And being kind is being honest, is being, call it sometimes kindness or saying the things that everybody else is afraid to say, but not saying it saying it in a way that it can land within you, that you can hear it. And that's a practice. You learn how to do that. It's called the art of listening and the art of speaking into somebody else listening.
So I'm in awe. Maybe we're gonna have a talk after this probably, but you said you've been doing this for 20 somehow years.
Yeah.
And I want to go to the genesis of our conversation. And maybe my question is, how did this started? How did you realize that this was something that this journey was for you and that you wanted to take that deep dive and just understand more about this?
So, okay, I'll start very early. So I began all of this in Guatemala in 2001. when I first came back here as a backpacker. Before that, for the first 31 years in my life, I was living a very, what we call modern culture. Born in Israel, grew up in Israel, did everything in a really beautiful, loving family, but like every other family that I know, dysfunctional in its own unique way. Learned at very early age that I'm not supposed to feel. I grew up in Israel also means that from the age I popped out from my mom's, I won't say the word, but like you're going to become a soldier.
Okay.
I grew up in a military culture where everybody goes to the army. My father was a military man. All the men around me, it was back in the days, I'm almost 55 years old. I was born in 69. So I was born to be a soldier, and soldiers need to be soldiers from early age. So that was part of it. But so for the first many years of my life, I didn't know how to feel. I was and so feeling was not okay. And, there was the usual drama of childhood. My father used anger unconsciously, and the scapegoat for his anger was this little boy. And though he hardly ever raised his hand to me, he was my height with an extra 40 pounds and with the voice 2 octaves lower. So when I would do something and he had to unleash his anger when we came back from work, it was like, David! And I was this side. I don't know if the camera see, but I was this, and I became nothing.
Right.
So I really learned from very early age how to numb myself, and I realized that I never knew how to actually feel. Now, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I will continue in the path. In my 20s, I worked in this business, did marketing, did my BA, MBA. And the funny thing is that I did, because my mom wanted me to become an engineer.
No. Because
she never became, and I had good hands and I could do things, and engineers don't need to feel anything because it's all under the net. It was part of she's 93 years old. God bless you, Mom, if you want to watch it. And she's amazing. But she still hopes that one day I'll become an engineer. And she's still disappointed that I'm doing what I'm doing and I didn't follow the path that she wanted me to follow. But I was living the life as I was trained to live and barely questioning it. In my early 20s, when my first serious girlfriend broke up with me, you're talking about feeling. I felt that she wanted to break out, so I asked the question and then told her, "You're breaking out with me," because it was obvious. And then there was a breakdown there. For the first time I felt, I was so shocked I couldn't understand it. I tried to understand it, didn't make sense. Then as a child, because I was a lousy student, they sent me to a psychologist. But now I chose to go to a psychologist in my 20s because something cracked in me. It was so painful. And as I look also in my past, when I was in university, I have a BA in economics because it was practical. And then I did an MBA, but in my BA, the course that I love the most, you need to take some courses that are not economics. I took courses in social working. The reason for taking it was because it was the easiest. In retrospective, that was the part I took probably, I don't remember how many hours, but those the courses that inspired me. But I was so blocked in the mission of what a good life or successful life look, that I was too afraid to leave economics and go do something for my spirit. So I continued. And then my father passed away when I was 28. And then I moved to New York because the man I was at the time, an opportunity came. I did an MBA, an executive MBA from City University of New York. And I created a job opportunity over there when I was there for a few weeks, doing a semester there. And I moved to New York. And the man I was at the time was ecstatic. Couldn't see anything better than moving to New York and living there. And to make a long story short, I lived there for 2 years. It was beautiful and also was super challenging. And then I got fired for the first time at 30 years old from one job, which was a shock. And I at retrospective, I totally understand why I got fired, because I told my boss that I'm not happy. So, he let me go. And then I found another job and I wasn't happy with it. So after a very short time, I left it and decided to take a backpack and travel a bit. And a good friend, his name is also David, very good friend. We've been friends for many years. I called in the day that August 27, 2001. I called my friend David and asked him, hey, I'm here in New York. I'm going traveling now. What do you suggest? And he said, tell him I'm here. So I'm probably going to go down south, put an amount of money of my travels and close my life in New York, put it in a storage unit. And 2 weeks after that day, I was in a plane because he suggested to start here in Antigua, Guatemala. He called it soft landing. Now, the man that left New York came here just as a backpacker. I didn't know what he was coming to do here. And I left New York on September 11, 2001. At 8:30 in the morning, I was on a plane. I was going first to LA. Obviously, I didn't get there, and there's a whole story about this date, but we'll skip it today. I arrived here at the end of September and began moving around. I'll skip. Long story short, after a month in Guatemala, I went at the end of October, 20th of October, I went to a beautiful village up in Cuchumatanes called Todos Santos for the big celebration for the Day of the Day in Todos Santos, because they said, if you're in Guatemala in this, you need to be there. Actually, on the way there, I heard that there's an American doctor who is there in Todos Santos, and he teaches this type of massage. And I always like massage, and the moment I heard about this guy, his name is Dr. Bill, I said, I want to study this massage. And again, in retrospective, at the time I didn't know, but it was like, I need to meet this guy. I want to study it. I got there, met the guy. Turned out that he's not just an American doctor, a chiropractic doctor. He's also shaman from very early age. He's been trained Native American, North American, Ojibwe shaman from very early age. He's been trained by his father to become a shaman. And I came there to learn the massage. And surprisingly enough, I ended up, because he wasn't just teaching the massage, which was a course of 2 weeks. He was also, on a constant basis, was teaching shamanism to a group of students who were traveling with him. And unbeknown to me, I joined this group. Now, this man, early November or 28th of October 2001, doesn't know the word shaman exists, obviously doesn't know what it means. And if he knew what it means, and if he knew that he's going to meet a shaman, he wouldn't meet a shaman. No way. I don't do shit like that, I'm sorry. But I met, and I began a journey. I didn't even know what I stepped into. The first day that I met him, I entered a room not bigger than this room, and because it's the Day of the Dead, all backpackers who are in Guatemala arrived there. There were about 30 people in this room. And I entered to the door, and because I just got off the bus, so I come there, and they're all chanting. I don't chant, man. I don't chant. But I began chanting. And again, I can talk it with more details, but I was lucky enough to find this man. And I ended up traveling and studying with him for about 8 months, every day studying also Reiki, shamanism, the massage, Tantra, you name it, magic, sex magic, everything. And I just jumped head on. Why? Because I was ready. Mm-hmm. And through this period of time, I fell in love. Many things happened. I had a month and a half after being with this teacher, we actually had the experience that I would say defined my life the most. We came to Antigua for Convivio on December 15, 2001. The Convivio took place about 2 blocks from where I live right now, in Panorama, Antigua. But I began very early in this The convivio began in the early afternoon, and I met a woman. It was 15th of December, who was also a shaman living here in Guatemala. And we began conversing, me and her and a few other students of my teacher. And we talked about what I studied in the month before. And what I studied the month before, what I focused was about self-love and love without condition, unconditional love. I read, I did exercises, I did tantra, all about that, about self-love for months and a half. And long story short, I ended up talking with this woman. First there in the party ended. She had a restaurant in Antigua. We went there. We talked through the night. Somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning on the 16th, after we've been talking for 40 hours, but deep conversation. I was 31 of the time. She was in her mid-50s. And she asked me a very simple question. She asked me, David, we've been talking now for that many hours. I feel I know you a bit. What's next? What are you going to do next in your life? And I answered her like a boy and said, I don't know. I'm a backpacker. I have no plans. I'm here with Dr. Bill. I know I'm here today. Tomorrow, say wherever we go, we go. And a couple more minutes passed, and then I realized I didn't answer a question. So I told her, hey, Ricky can answer the question. So I didn't answer it because I don't know is an excuse. So I'm a shaman. I'm a healer. That's what I do. And meaning months and a half before, I don't know. So I don't know what it means, but I know this is my calling. This is my path in life. So I have 3 tools. First, my heart. Second, my hand, the touch. And the third is the word. And the rest of it, God will show the way. Now, there was no God in my life before. And I left. I went back to the hotel where I was staying because I had to take a young man. We came from a village on the coast called Las Lisas, and I paid for a young man who wanted to see Antigua to come see Antigua, and I had to take him back to the bus that would take him down to the beach because he had to continue and fish. He was paid for 3 days of his life, but he has to fish. I dropped him at the bus station just before 5, 4:45, something like that, 1 to 5. I was walking in the street of Antigua, and out of the blue, I just had this expansion that I can't explain. I lost myself, and I knew, I didn't lose myself, but there was, I don't know if any of you ever done any drugs, but it was like taking MDMA or ecstasy, but not taking one ecstasy is like you took 100 of them. Every fiber of my being knew and felt and experienced pure love. I could see the matrix. I'm there, it's 4:45, I don't speak Spanish, it's dark in the street, and I begin to cry, and I laugh because it's, everything shakes me. My story, which I don't have evidence to it, is that an hour before I committed my life to the path that I was supposed to live my life, and that was the universe's way of answering. Mm-hmm. And then, long story short, a few days after, again, I realized that I'm supposed to live here. Again, it wasn't an intellectual understanding. It was just something. This is home now. Continued traveling with my shaman. Left after a short period, a few months, to come back and live here. When I went back home, my friends, and especially my mom, who heard about everything that I do, to email back at the time and some phone calls, and knew that I want to move back to Guatemala to follow the path of shamanism and personal evolution. Thought that I lost my mind. So the first thing when I landed, asked me to go see the shrink. And luckily I did enough work not to get offended by it, but to know that I'm totally coming out of her world. She loves me, but the only way she can explain her son, who grew born Jewish but completely secular and had God has no part in our life, believe in this thing called God right now, does all those rituals, does things, gonna do this, he lost his mind. Somebody brainwashed him. So I went to a few sessions. I was in Israel for a few months, and the psychologist, was the same one who saw me when I was 17 and a lousy student, was I did a few sessions and the last one, my mom came with me and he told her, he's okay, don't worry. And it gave her a lot of peace, and I was not enough, but it raised her, which in a place it's sad because she didn't trust me, but his word, and that's okay. Then I moved back here and began to work. And at the time, I was mostly training some shamanic work, Reiki and massaging. I began with massage, but through my shamanic practice, this year that I was with my teacher, and I continued to go see him every month for a few days. But every time I would work with people with a physical body, things will happen emotionally. People were coming, they were crying, there was experiences they were having that was unexplainable, but completely explainable. And I knew I'm supposed to study more. I knew that there was a deep connection. I'm never, as I said before, and we didn't touch it here, but you can't just touch a physical body. You always touch much more. You're always relating in the 5 layers, the 5 bodies. And I didn't know them at the time to speak like that, but I knew that there was something more happening. And I realized that I need to do more training. So I continued to do other trainings, coach, nutrition, eventually got to this work that I do so much, which is called Amane, which really, it's a psychosomatic, deep psychosomatic, multidimensional work where we really work with the 4 layers of you and really invite you to a space of deep, deep exploration. It's almost like plant medicine session without plant medicine, where you, through breath and connection, go into spaces within you that you don't even know that exist, but they're there. And continuing, taking trainings, learning, always listening, and always working on myself. And years now, 20-something years, that I committed to this path and consciously working it. So it's 2001, December. So we are almost 20, I'm almost 23 years in that. Old. And still a student, still learning, and committed, and to an embodied life, not just mine, but to inspire others and to bring others to that, because landing in your body, and especially landing in your heart and leading life from there, that's how we can change the world. To intellectualize life and to think that we can resolve the issues that we are facing. You know, don't remember who said it, but like the thinking that brought me there will not take us where we need to go. Especially when I see what's happening in the world, the region that I come in the world, and the level of what's happening there. It won't be resolved until all humans on this planet will finally figure out that there's no difference between me and a Palestinian or a Guatemalan or a Salvadorian or a Spanish or woman or man or actually any other living being. We're all the same. We all come from the same. It's about the evolution of human consciousness, and that's why I do this work. And part of the reason that we talk about heartful leadership and leadership, because the forces that control the world today more than anything are corporation. And if we can reach those people in power position and help them and help them help us to begin to shift consciousness on this planet, we might reach there sooner than the trajectory is right now. And I believe that it's possible, and I will never stop believing it. And if my presence here in this world helps even a tiny bit, so be it. But it's day by day, the commitment to come back here, to feel, to live, and to embody fully who I am. And maybe that will inspire others. And I still drop back into my mind at times, and I still let my emotional patterns at times overrun me. I'm not enlightened. I don't want to pretend to be. I'm doing my best at any given moment. And my best sometimes, quote unquote, sucks because I'm human. But it's the magic of it. It's also the compassion to oneself, more and more and more. And here, this creature on 4 legs that works here, she's my teacher as well. Because they're way more embodied than we are. They don't BS. They don't BS. As domesticated as she is, this beautiful pooch, the most domesticated animal on this planet are human beings, by far. And This. Because she makes sounds. We have another thing. I want to see a world where people breathe and feel and make sounds, because we have been so domesticated not to express ourselves because we're weird. So there's so many layers. And it's about creating a whole other spectrum of what we can become. And that's what I want to see. And in any space, whether it's in a space with one person, with an animal, in a corporation, or just with my friends. Having real conversation, connecting with each other. Feeling. And again, I think the time is running, but like, it's about taking quote unquote the risk. You want to have a real, intimate, profound conversation, take the first step in. Don't expect the other. Don't just ask. Open up yourself. It will create the possibility to other to step into this, what we call vulnerable. If you expect them and they expect you, we just talk about the weather, which is important, but it's not the depth that we all yearn for.
Yeah.
And the same thing back, show it to your kids. Tell them, hey, daddy's tired right now. Daddy is scared. They already see it. When you try to hide it, it's true for kids and true for the kids in the workplace. Everybody knows what's happening. And it's not just me saying, they actually did. They went around and they questioned people. Say, hey, what do you think this executive there in the corner office, what is he feeling? What does he think about you? And they were so accurate. Because we read, we all know it. And if we can share this protection that we have and say, F it all, just be us. And let's train and learn how to be us, actually.
David, a mí me encanta escucharte y creo que cada vez más voy reconociendo cuando una persona está hablando y cuando una persona es canal y la información simplemente va fluyendo y va bajando. Y para mí tú eres un canal y lo hablábamos hace un poco.
Es interesante porque me siento incómodo cuando tú dices esto, pero está bien.
Sí, o sea, tú no estás pensando en lo que estás diciendo, esto va bajando y va fluyendo y va fluyendo y lo que se crea en el espacio mientras te escuchamos, porque ni Chris ni yo, o sea, estábamos, y Marcelo también, todos poniendo muchísima atención y prestándote mucha atención, entonces me encanta escucharte y me encanta vivir las experiencias que he vivido contigo en tus talleres y en tus workshops, en donde tú hablas de tus herramientas, ¿no? De tu corazón, de tu presencia, de tus manos y tu voz, y es lo que está ahí presente. Y yo le contaba a Chris que yo he hecho mucho, ¿no? Desde coaching, terapia, talleres, tantra, ejercicios de respiración, todo. Y las experiencias de Manae han sido de las experiencias más fuertes y más intensas emocionalmente para mí. Así que gracias por traernos y compartirnos toda tu experiencia. Terminaste de vuelta hablando otra vez de las corporaciones, ¿sí? De las empresas. Y de cómo para mí, yo creo que para Chris también, yo digo, ahí está la oportunidad de transformación. ¿Sí? Por supuesto en los niños, pero eso va a tardar muchos más años. Pero para mí el ambiente de trabajo es el lugar en donde los adultos aprendemos, donde nos transformamos, en donde desaprendemos todo lo que hay que desaprender, pero donde nos podemos convertir y tomar conciencia también. ¿Cuáles son 2 o 3 mensajes con los que llegas a una corporación? Porque yo me imagino muchas corporaciones y pienso en clientes que yo ya tuve o en lugares donde trabajé y es cómo se le abre la puerta a un chamán moderno. Y tú hoy me decías, súper gracioso, me decías, hoy me puse zapatos para ustedes. Me decías, David, hoy me vestí y me puse zapatos para ustedes. Pero ¿cómo llegas a un mundo corporativo con este mensaje a un espacio que no para, que es frenético, de este sistema donde todo es acelere, donde todo es ansiedad, estrés, números, etcétera, y tú llegas con este mensaje? ¿Cuáles son esos 2 o 3 mensajes que te han abierto la puerta o que han permitido que las puertas se abran para entrar al mundo corporativo?
What permit is because most of those people, and definitely when you go to the higher level, they've been in this modern culture chasing something. And they reach right now and they see I'm here and I got everything that I want, that I ever wanted, but there's a part that's empty there. And you sit there in your CEO suite, and everybody in the old way of is afraid of you, and nobody's connected to you, and all of a sudden you come and you speak to them, and you connect with them, and you allow them a space where they can be listened. But also they can be listened, and again, through listening and reflecting some of the things back to them, and pointing something that are obvious when you actually listen, and invite them, because when I come, and I come with a real conscious decision that like, I'm here in service, and they feel it, and they sit in this field that I create, but I create almost actually unconsciously, and they feel being listened and heard, and they feel the comfort that they can open up, and they see there's an experience that they have, and they say, whoa, I want more than this. And because I come from the outside, I won't say that I'm not afraid, but I'm like, I'm not afraid to tell them what I see. Like, and to call them a little bit on this bullshit. So I go to an organization and without shaming them, without guilting them, I bring it what I advise here. I see the CEO, but I also see the 15 years old boy there, or the 12, and I speak to both of them at the same time. And when they see this and they feel it and they have the experience, I say, whoa, this actually has benefit. And all the studies that has been done when we bring this environment where leadership begins to occur and create spaces where people can fully be themselves, it affects the bottom line. When you take care of your people take care of the business and the clients, and the business grows. When you begin to navigate not just professional trust, there's professional trust that says, hey, I trust you, I gave you an assignment, you know how to do it, you'll do it. But there's trustworthiness. That's very... Trustworthiness, it's saying that like, I know you have my back on a whole different level. And when you bring that into the organization, and there's a way to do it, but first we need to clean some of the dirtiness there, because there's always politics and everything. And when you begin to listen, and you create a space when they can begin to talk about it, little things can create huge changes. When we invite people to actually in a structured space begin to talk and train and see the other person, not just my grievances, but also it's like couple therapy, but with people in work. Remember what brought us together. Remember that though there are grievances here for 15, 20 years, there's also a lot of love a lot of the time in workplace. So it's bringing this language to those who are ready. And there are more people that are ready than we think. My main objective is getting to the place, because I know when I eventually get to sit with the decision-making organization, they get it. Some of the problem with there, but also in the other places I do the work, that they still live in modern culture, and they want like an instant solution. Okay, come give us 2 hours and we'll figure it out. It's not. It's a process. You're retraining yourself. You're retraining your organization. It's going to take time. It's going to take commitment. And you're going to invest initially, but at the end, you'll see it will pay off. Because culture is important. You will have to let go. Some people leave because of this new thing. But once you create a culture, you bring people that fit the culture, not necessarily that just have the skills. And once you begin to see the people, they begin to see you. And people begin to want to come to work because they feel like they're being seen. So maybe this can open more doors, but people are ready. The world is ready because everybody And it doesn't matter where in the social, economic, or in the hierarchy of the organization you sit, people are seeing that a lot of it doesn't work anymore. And I'm talking about, I want to see a world where we are led by values, actual values, and not necessarily just shareholder value. Because we create a lot of apparent value, but it's like there's a high value price, there's values price that we pay for it. And I've been fortunate enough to work with some organization and executive. I see organization how they shift and change when they drop more here and they start leading from their heart. Because it affects all the areas in their life. Because you are not the man or the woman that come to the office. You can, this is who I am at home, this is who I am at the office. And people want it. So this is why you are doing this podcast, because there's more and more people who are ready and willing to see it. But again, when you sit with a person and you really listen to them, they already tell you, like you know, if you really sit in, you're really present, you come and you figure out what's going on in the organization, and there's no one size fits all. I don't go to somebody and say, do this. Of course. You sit with them, you see everything is there on the surface, underneath, but on the surface. And when you listen, you just see it. And it's amazing when you listen, because change, just begin breathing, just slow down, man. Just take those two people for lunch and begin to change something. It's little things. And then other big things will happen as well. So,
nice. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
David, muchas gracias por tu tiempo, por venir de Antigua para visitarnos hoy. Gracias por compartir este espacio, esta reflexión. Creo que a nosotros y seguramente a nuestra audiencia nos deja con mucha reflexión, con muchas invitaciones a conectar con nuestro corazón, con esta invitación a escuchar nuestro cuerpo, a ser honestos, a ser genuinos, a ser auténticos con nosotros mismos y atrevernos, tener ese coraje, tener esa valentía de construir relaciones desde este lugar de autenticidad, desde este lugar de valores más esenciales y desde este lugar en donde nuestras emociones y nuestro cuerpo no mienten, ¿no?
Yeah, just being a good leader is being a good human. Not much different between the two.
Totalmente.
And the message just, let's be better humans, good humans. As we say in Yiddish, which is the language of my parents, sei ein Mensch. A Mensch is a word in Yiddish. It's hard to translate even to English, but it's a real good salt of the earth human being of values. Let's go back to values. And let's reflect what are those values that we're going back to, actually. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Having me here today. It was, I enjoyed it too. And I'm looking forward to continue the conversation. And it was worth it even to drive from Antigua. I barely ever come here to the city, but this felt important and I'm happy to be here today. So thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for doing
Thank
that.
you.
Esto fue Hilos de Consciencia, nuestra segunda temporada, episodio 9. A mí me nace decir contribuyendo a la grandeza humana, como lo hemos hablado siempre. Así que por favor síganos en redes, denle like si les gustó este episodio, denle en compartir. Hoy estuvimos con David Elron, por si lo quieren también buscar en sus propias redes, o Amanae Guatemala. Amanae Guatemala, si quieren saber también de sus workshops, sus sesiones y sus actividades. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos.
Ciao.